Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the future of the water and the wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. I'm your host, Dave Kosminski, and again, we are on location for this episode at the lovely Ocean's Edge Resort on Cape Cod for our CTAWWA CWWA annual conference. And in the house, Mr. Steve Vitko, who is basically a employee of the Regional Water Authority in New Haven. So, Steve, congratulations. Come on.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're just, getting as many people on. And, again, I share this podcast with all of the guidance counselors in high schools throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts. And, again, it's making students aware of some of the great careers that are available in the water industry. As you know, that the umbrella is a large umbrella. So, tell us how you got involved with the water industry.
Absolutely. So when I was in college, I actually had the opportunity to join Aquarion for a summer.
Okay.
And in Aquarion, I worked in their Easton office, and I worked under a couple really bright, amazing people. And what I did was I did watershed inspections.
Uh-huh.
And these watershed inspections are required. They're a regulated activity under 1913B 102B of the Public Health Code for the Department of Public Health. And basically what it requires is that a water company with a water supply plan must do a annual audit of all the infrastructure from the watershed to the intake annually.
Yeah.
So I helped out with that program for Aquarion, and from that point, the internship was over. That was it. But I loved the water industry as a whole.
So that was your intro.
That was my intro.
Okay.
I went back to college, and for my last final year, I got a different job out of college that I will absolutely say that I did not enjoy at all. So from that point, I actually asked the people that I had the internship under at Aquarion Water Company if they knew of any openings in the water industry. And sure enough, a role came at the Regional Water Authority, and that's where I started in 2014 as a watershed protection specialist. And
Nice.
I've been in the water industry ever since, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you must know Noel Grant from...
Sure thing. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yes. So, your role down there obviously is are both surface water and groundwater.
Correct. Yes, we have both sources. We have 10 active surface water treatment surface water sources connected to 4 surface water treatment plants, and we have multiple well fields as well spread throughout the system.
I think Lake Allard is your biggest.
Lake Allard is our largest source. It serves up to about 65% of what we distribute on a daily basis, and the system actually is very well interconnected as well. So we can utilize our Lake Allard system with our Lake Whitney system and use them almost interdependently. So we could exchange water from one to the other to reserve or consume more water from one source or the other. But Lake Allard, just a little fun fact, Lake Allard's natural watershed is very small, actually. So we actually rely on Lake Hammonasset and Lake Monongahela. We have an aqueduct system underground which feeds the water into Lake Allard.
Right. Now Whitney. Now you only run that a couple days a week.
Actually, no. We're up to a full-time operation at Whitney
really?
now. About 4. We used to run it on. I believe it was a couple days a week, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. We're up to 7 days a week now, and we go at around 4.5 MGD, million gallons a day now. And the reason for that is because we have this beautiful state-of-the-art plant. Why not utilize it?
Exactly.
And it supplements some of the water from Gallard too. So we'd like to keep Gallard, since it's our largest source, as full as possible. So the more we utilize Lake Whitney, we can kind of offset the water demand at Lake Gallard.
Yeah, I taught a couple of water boot camps, and we taught the classroom up at Whitney Water Center up there. And
Absolutely.
So
that's a great program.
Oh yes, it is. It's, Lisa DeFrancesco, she's still there.
She's still there, and we actually just got a brand new extra staff member who does part-time education there. And her name is Paris, and so now with Lisa and Paris, we have a nice, robust team. They're both great educators.
Yes.
And they're doing an awesome job.
Yes.
They educate a lot of students every year.
Yes, I used to work many years ago, and she's retired now. But Kate Powell used to work.
Oh, absolutely.
With Lisa.
Oh, Kate's great.
Yes.
And actually, Kate's still on the Watershed Fund Board, which is now the Clear Sea Watershed Fund Board, and I'm actually the chair of their golf tournament each year. So we have an annual annual golf tournament where we raise money for students going into the environmental sector. So last year we actually raised a net of about $45,000 for scholarships for 19 students.
Because I think Kate and Ross, did they move to Massachusetts?
That I don't know, actually.
Okay, they used to live in Cromwell.
All I know is that she got a new Subaru and she loves it.
Oh, okay.
That was the last time I talked to her.
All right, shout out to Kate and Ross. So fantastic, Anyway, so as far as that, now your office is Sergeant Drive.
Correct. Yeah, we're at 90 Sergeant Drive, so I'm at the main office there.
Okay.
And just a little bit more about what I do. I started as a watershed protection specialist, worked a few years doing that, mainly doing watershed inspections, and from there I was promoted to what was it? Now I can't even remember my own roles because there's been a few. And it was environmental analyst, and then I went to senior environmental analyst, and then I trained with John Hudak, who you're very very well aware of.
Oh, yeah.
And John and I trained for about a year and a half together. We did some really extensive succession training, and it was a really great effort on both his and my part, and it was a really natural fit. So he announced his retirement last year, and he officially retired in around August, and that's when I fulfilled his position as environmental planning manager.
Well, again, one of the premises of me launching this podcast is that we're all I am baby boomer and so forth, and the ranks are dwindling. We're retiring. We have to start refilling the pipeline, so to speak, and no pun intended. But I think that's John has been in the business, and in fact, we got to get him on the podcast as well here.
Absolutely, and I can't stress enough how important the succession training is, especially in the water industry. You have so much old infrastructure and little caveats of every system that need to be learned that can't be learned just outside of the organization. Some of the things just need to be retained in the organization.
Well, and there's again that knowledge base with John and so forth, that he has the history of the system and the ins and outs and all the nuances and so forth that that has to be passed on.
Absolutely, yeah. So we did about a year and a half of succession training, and it was great. It was great.
Fantastic. So now you're an up and comer now in the Connecticut section. Tell us how you got involved in the Connecticut section.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started in the Connecticut section as the just a member of the Source Water Protection Committee.
Yep.
And I loved it. It was a great committee. We were able to discuss topics within Connecticut for regulations, where we got consultants together, we got water utility industries together, educators. People of the public would come, and it was just a great forum to exchange knowledge in the source protection arena throughout the state. So Brian Roach, you probably knew Brian before he retired. He used to be the chair.
Yep.
So when he stepped down as chair, I stepped up as the chair of the Source Water Protection Committee. I think I've been the chair for around maybe 6 years now or so. And a couple years back, I was actually asked to consider being the Technical and Standards Council chair on the board.
Okay.
So I, of course, asked if there was a conflict of interest, because I would be overseeing the committee that I chaired.
Oh,
sure enough, there was no conflict.
No,
So I joined the board. So now I'm the Technical and Standards Council chair on the board, as well as the chair of the Source Water Protection Committee.
And moving up the chairs.
Not quite yet.
No.
Soon. Soon I'll be in the rotation.
There you go.
Yeah. But no, it's a fulfilling experience. It's really amazing. You get to meet unbelievable people. You get to learn so much, and I can't stress enough how important AWWA and the Connecticut section are, and just our collaboration too with CWWA.
Absolutely.
It's been a really great experience.
Well, and the thing is that from a standpoint of sharing networks and so forth, a venue like this with the annual conference is just so important, because you develop those relationships of people working with different variety of systems, groundwater, surface water, regionals to quasi-publics to municipal systems, as well as investor-owned. So there's a whole different mix of how the water industry operates in Connecticut, and to be a part of that and learn how each segment works is so important.
Absolutely, and like you said before, the water industry is just it's a great sector to get into, because, like you said, there's a full umbrella. There's just at our water company alone, you have communications, you have a police department, environmental planning, you have engineering, you have IT, it's not just about the water per se.
No.
There's so much more to it that people don't understand, and it's really an all-encompassing industry.
Oh, for sure. And the more you know, or the more you think you know, the more you find out you don't know.
That's very much the truth, and that's why these technical sessions at conferences like this are just so important, because you could sit there at the beginning of the day and read the schedule and say, well, not all these interest me, but then you go to them and say, wow, I learned so much about something that I didn't know before. So that's the importance of these conferences.
Well, again, I've been in the water industry 50 years. I transitioned out of the day-to-day. I became IT director for the town of Portland about 20 years ago, and I tell you, that's is the type of thing, especially with the way the landscape is changing, cyber-wise today. It's like with all the new SCADA systems, with all the new technology that that's out there that we have to keep up with, that the industry has integrated into their workflow. It's like I said, sometimes it can be overwhelming.
It can be, and with I'm sure you've heard a million times on this podcast, but emerging contaminants are a big one.
Sure.
I deal a lot with our raw water quality.
Yep.
So the instrumentation that we use is constantly evolving. So we're constantly acquiring new equipment,
Mm-hmm.
new methodologies for treatment, better methods for sampling. We just acquired a really nice piece of equipment called the Flow Cam, so we can get on-demand algae analysis for our reservoirs. Extremely helpful piece of equipment. So all these little things just kind of combine to make a more robust program over time, and that's what we're looking to do.
Right. Now who's the lab director now?
The lab director, that would be, it used to be Terry Spalletta.
Terry, okay.
Yep. So after Terry, there's been, I'm trying to think of who it is off the top of my head. We'll give a shout out to Tom over here.
Yes, Mr. Barger. Mr. Barger, you're on next.
With the lab director.
Rich Sibley.
Thank you. Rich Sibley is currently the lab director. But Rich does a great job just overseeing the lab, and we work with him often on bringing in raw water sampling, and we have some tests in-house, and then some we outsource. Some thresholds don't go low enough for what we need for raw water nutrients,
Sure.
for example, and we need to ship those out to Yukon. So with all these programs kind of combined, we can develop a better way of gauging our raw water quality and utilizing the best intakes possible, and then working with our operations team to pull and to draw the best water possible, so that we can use less money to treat that water, less chemicals to treat that water, and overall a better holistic program.
Sure. Now your lab also outsources. Takes in outside work. From
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have we're one of the only accredited labs in the area to do PFAS sampling. So we do a lot of PFAS sampling and different sorts of sampling that other labs can't accomplish on their own.
Speaking of emerging contaminants, PFAS and lead service lines and so forth. So, how are you faring with the PFAS? Are you discovering a lot of utilities have the PFAS in it now? Or?
Yeah, it's they call it the forever chemical for a reason. You're bound to find it if you test for it, and we did proactively test prior to back when DPH was asking for voluntary testing. We were doing that testing, and quite honestly, that was the way to do it, because we were ahead of the curve. We knew what was going on within our system, within the groundwater and the surface water, and that way we can act on it on a quicker basis than being reactionary.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to do the proactive measures rather than the reactionary, because if you have that extra, even if it's just 6 months extra, even if it's a year extra, you have that time to react, and you have that time to put better policies into place to produce better water over time.
Oh, absolutely. And then of course the other elephant in the room is the lead service lines, and I think as every utility is throughout the state and the country, is experiencing, the aging infrastructure. It's the type of thing that you, again, you have to deal with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll let Tom's going to be the lead on the lead service line here,
Okay.
but I deal a lot with the PFAS. We have a lot of testing going on for that. We were actually as chair of the Source Water Protection Committee, the DPH put out a circular letter in, I believe it was 2018 or 2019, that mandated that water companies look into the potential PFAS generators. So we took it a step further and did a whole GIS analysis on potential PFAS generators. We included that in our last water supply plan, which we just updated and submitted to DPH in February. And like I said, we're just trying to do every measure we could, because everyone's still learning on a daily basis about these compounds and these chemicals. So, whatever we could do to get on top of it, that's what we try to do.
Exactly. So if you were to give advice to young high school senior or college freshman, what would you say about the water industry?
I would say, if you can't find an interest in the water industry, if you can't find something that intrigues you or some job that you're, drawn to a little bit, then you're not looking hard enough. Because there's just so much opportunity. And like we were talking about before, there's spectrums that, there's such a wide canvas of what you can look for, whether you're into art, whether you're into science, whether you're into communications, whether you're maybe a little more introverted and you want to do some job behind the computer. There's opportunities everywhere.
Like I say, the umbrella is a large umbrella, and there's a lot of aspects. Whether you're environmental, whether you're in business, whether you're laboratory chemists and so forth. We got it all. You can be involved, and it's a career that is a secure career. And how long you been with regional now?
I've been regional for 9 years now.
9 years, okay. Yep. So you can make a good living. It's not something from any utility standpoint that you can outsource. You need boots on the ground, to perform those tests, to read the meters, to fix the leaks, to whatever you need to do.
Absolutely.
It's not something that you can outsource across the pond for whatever reason.
No, and the more you get into it, the more you become a subject matter expert, and that's what these conferences are all about that we're at here today, is just collaborating with other water utilities, with consultants, and just creating better programs throughout.
Absolutely. And again, the CTAWW as well as CWW, they're volunteer organizations. So it's volunteers like you and me, that make everything work. And it's something that it's a knowledge base that we can all learn from one another, help one another, and be a part of the whole ecosystem.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm happy to be here with you. And I appreciate this podcast, too. I think it's a great word to get out.
Awesome. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Vitko is in the house, and this is the future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. I'm your host, Dave Kosminski, and Steve is a new member of well, not so new, but he's on the younger spectrum of the staff of Regional Water Service. So, Steve, thank you so much.
Dave, pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty, and that concludes this episode.